In this tutorial video, we'll help you get started with Lab0. Let's first of all go to the GitHub page for Lab0 Instructions. So go to EECS 3311, winter 2020, and public. Okay, and under which you got Lab0 spec. So this is where you can find instructions about your Lab0. At the end of your Lab0, you're supposed to submit and get feedback. The first section for Lab0 instruction, let's scroll down a little bit, is called resources for Lab0. So these are the various items you really go through and make sure you're comfortable with them before you try to complete Lab0. Okay? The first one is simply the current video you're watching. And the second one is PDF documents. Let's open that. It's for the preparation of Lab0. If you go to the documents there, basically it's not a very long document, but you're responsible for reading it through in detail. Okay, the only thing I will show to you is a website over here. Okay, if you scroll down a little bit to the beginning of the documents over here, okay, on page number 4, so there's a website called iPhone. Okay, so let me first of all go to iPhone. You can also find a link below the video. Okay, let me just go to iPhone. Okay, go to their website for iPhone, and the easiest way for you to create a project in order for you to play with in this course is by using the iPhone website. Okay, for Lab0, we'll show you how you can do it. Okay, for Lab0, let's give a name for the project called Snooker. Okay, Snooker. Make sure it's spelled properly, otherwise you have problem for submitting your work at the end. Okay, and then you simply say submit. And what you will do is it's going to trigger the automatic generation of a starter project for you to start with. Okay, it's going to be a zip folder. You have to unzip it later. Okay, so now let's assume you're going to create maybe a folder called 3311 workspace somewhere in your present account or your own machine. If you want to look into how to install iPhone Studio into your home machine or your laptop, you can also refer to the same preparation documents. You can go to simply, I'll show you quickly, you can simply go to Appendix A. Appendix B for installing the iPhone Studio over here. Okay, that's what you can do. And then 3311 workspace on the desktop, for example, and then we're going to save your generated archive file over here. Okay, let's do it. And then I'll simply say, did I miss the submit? Okay, it's here. Okay, let me say save the file. And then I'll save it under, you can see desktop, 3311 workspace, and then I'll say save. Okay. So now let me go to that particular folder here. You can see the zip file here. Let's unzip it. Okay. Okay, once you unzip it, you can see there's a folder called Snooker. So this is the eventual folder you have to submit for your Lab0. So Snooker, you got model, you got root, you got snooker.ecf. So .ecf is an extension for iPhone configuration. Okay. So that's something you usually don't have to touch, but you have to use it in order to compile your projects. And also a tests folder over here. What we will do is we're going to copy and paste some files from the GitHub webpage. Okay, let's show you how you can do it. I'm making the assumption that you actually try to follow Appendix A, which is really highly recommended for you to apply for an educational GitHub account. So go to Appendix A and try to follow the instruction and some tutorial videos to show you the process of using GitHub, which is a very common software engineering practice for you to follow. Okay, in case you really cannot really get it to work, you can also copy and paste from the GitHub page, which I'll also show you briefly. Okay, so now in order to really try to get things set up, let's go back to our page over here. I'll go over the rest of the resources a little bit later. Okay, so now I'm back to the page, the instruction page for Lab0. So there's a folder called source. Okay, go there. So these are the classes that you're going to copy and paste into your starter project. Okay, if you have not set up your GitHub account properly by following the tutorial videos, that's okay. You can simply go to the class over here, for example, points. You can simply go here and simply copy the contents over here, and then when you launch iPhone Studio, the IDE, you can create a class and paste over the contents. You can do this one by one. You have to do for every class over here. That's one way to go. But it's definitely much better if you can get a GitHub account to work, so you can just clone the entire repository, which I'll show you. Okay. So once you have done this, let's say you can somehow set a GitHub account properly. So let's say in my case, I store all my GitHub repository under GitHub. Okay, so now the one we're looking at is called 3311 Winter 20 public. Okay, and for now, there's only one single folder called Lab0 spec. Okay, so if you go under source, so these are the classes we give to you as a starters. Okay, I'm going to somehow copy and paste them in a much more convenient way into my starter project. Okay, let me just put this aside. Let me put another file browser over here on my computer. Okay, so now what I will do is I'll simply go to desktop. Okay, and then I'll go to the workspace, and then I'll go into Snooker. So this is the starter project I just created automatically from iPhone. So go into model over here. So what you should do is you should copy ballpoints, constants, snooker table, and tuple 2. Okay, copy them and then paste them into the model folder or cluster in the iPhone term. And also go up one level. So now you're going to also go into the root folder or root cluster. Okay, go to the clone of your repository, copy root, and then paste it over here, replace it. Okay, and also you want to go to the test snooker.e, copy it. Okay, and then go back here and go to the tests over here. So now you can delete this test example.e. Okay, and then I'm gonna paste it. Okay, you got test snooker.e. Okay, so make sure you do this properly. So now you're almost set up to start completing your Lab0. So what I would do now is to open and to launch iPhone Studio. And if you want to work from home or on your own computer, you can go back to this preparation documents here. You can see for Appendix B, it's about installing iPhone Studio on your home machine, either Windows or Mac OS X. And for Linux, it will be very similar to the Mac OS X instruction. So now let's see this. Assuming that you have installed iPhone Studio on your computer, so what I will do is I'll simply just open it. Okay, let me just do it on my Mac. If you don't use a Mac, you can simply, for example, on Windows, you can just open iPhone Studio separately. Okay, so what I will do is I'll just say eStudio. Okay, that's a command for launching iPhone Studio. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a project. Okay, let me just remove whatever that's already there. Add projects, and then just make sure you follow the path properly. Go to desktop, go to your workspace, snooker, and also snooker.ecf. Remember, ECF is a configuration file for compilation. So now I will say OK, and then I will say compile. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, in the beginning of your compilation, it is expected that you're going to get syntax error simply because the starter code that we give to you from the GitHub is only partial. So now it's your responsibility to fix them. Okay, so now I'll give you a little bit hints over here. For example, if you double click on this line here, it's telling you there is some syntax error for your make command over here. Okay, basically require is for the precondition and the ensure is for the post condition. And somehow you're missing the implementation body for this particular feature because it is not deferred or it's not abstract. Okay, so one way to fix this is simply say do over here. Of course, you still gotta fill in something over here. I'll say your task. Okay, once I've done this, make sure you save the file and then compile again. Okay, you can see reduce the syntax error to a little bit less, but you gotta keep fixing this until you have no syntax error, and then so you can start developing your implementation and also maybe even write more tests yourself. Okay, so eventually what we want to have for your Lab0 is to have, let me just go back to the Lab0 instruction. Eventually, of course, all the instructions here, you're responsible for reading them in detail in order to complete the lab. Eventually, what you want to get is a green bar showing that all the unit tests actually for your Snooker application actually pass eventually. Okay, once you have done that, you'll be ready to submit. Okay, but I would suggest before you're really able to fix the syntax error and to really continue with your development, I would suggest pause a little bit. Okay, what you should really do now is to go back to the GitHub instructions page and try to go over the rest of the resources section. Okay, we have just gone through the Lab0 preparation, where you should really learn about IFO new. You learn about some command line basics, also learn about how to apply for GitHub accounts, also how to install IFO Studio on your machine. Let's say you have done that. So there are two more things you should really go over before you will know how to complete Lab0. The first document is called IFO 101. So in IFO 101, it's not a very long document, but it contains all the conceptual basics that will be necessary for you to complete not just Lab0, but also all the subsequent labs. Okay, for Lab0, you can also refer to this particular section over here, just about the compilation error. For example, you can go to this section over here, section number 8, called voice safety, and also to look at what are the possible compilation errors. You can also refer to them. Okay, for example. Okay, IFO 101, you should really try to finish reading it while you still have more time to invest on week 1. Okay. Furthermore, go back to instructions page. The last item over here, even though it says optional, but it's highly recommended you also complete this particular item, which is a self-contained tutorial video list. Okay, it's recorded for your benefits to really walk through a complete example about bank account. It will show you many features about the IDE for IFO Studio, about how you can do unit testing, how you can do debugging, how you can write if conditional, how you can write a single class, multiple classes, and also how you can write loops. So there are many basic which is not covered in other resources that I would suggest you go over them before you try to do Lab0. Okay, it's not very short, but I think again for week number 1 you have more time to invest than the weeks later. Okay, assuming that you're able to finish all the resources items over here, so now you should be set to actually go back to the starter project that we just generated over here, and then you can now fix the syntax error and add it into the implementations and try to get all the tests to pass. Okay. Once you have achieved this, what you can do is go to the very end of the page over here. You can see there's a directory structure that is expected, but this structure is basically guaranteed by the starter project because we use IFO new to actually generate it. So that one should be guaranteed. You shouldn't worry too much about it. And then eventually to submit, you have to type this command from from your prison account. You can do this from one of the prison lab workstations, or you can establish some server connection from your machine. Either way will work. Okay, but make sure you submit before the deadline. Okay. Okay, so we have gone through basically how roughly Lab0 should be completed. It will be quite a demanding lab, but it's worth doing so that you can save more time for the subsequent labs, which will be released very soon after the end of week number 1.